And to open the third Southeast Europe Aviation Summit with us, we have His Excellency, the new Canadian ambassador. Thank you very much for supporting us. We had on our offline conferences at every single instance somebody important, of course, opening. Now it's your turn because Canada has been active in the aviation industry in the region. And of course, it's one of the countries that has a lot of history. And can you just introduce us into the Canada aviation industry story? What is the importance of the aerospace sector in Canada?
Okay, and thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Canada is one of the largest, most developed aerospace industries. It's got a long history. The industry contributes over $25 billion in GDP to our economy, and it employs 213,000 Canadians. So it's a very significant industry. It's very linked with the defense sector, and I used to work in the defense sector before I came here, and with the space sector, in which Canada is also a leading player. And I think this link is important and especially recognized in the region here in the Western Balkans. Our aerospace companies are particularly strong in the design and production of regional and business aircraft, helicopters, flight simulator systems, and landing gear. And we've got the industry has a very well-deserved reputation for quality and for high technology, performance, and reliability. And it's recognized around the world for this. We have the sort of cutting edge and advanced technology at a decent competitive cost. And I'm really glad that today and tomorrow, we have some of our most recognized companies are going to be participating in the summit. We have Bell Textron Helicopters Canada and Longview de Havilland as well. So they're going to be participating and we'll be able to showcase their capabilities to the markets. And that's great. It's a great opportunity for us.
So the Canadian Commercial Corporation and Bell were a success story in Montenegro. You came after that, but that's a model of specifically supporting your companies throughout the world. So how do you do that? How do you support companies in third countries?
Yeah, so I mean, in 2018 and 2020, Bell Textron signed 2 deals with the Montenegro Ministry of Defense, actually, and it was to purchase 5 helicopters. 2 of them were Bell 505s, and that was just before the pandemic started last year. And they're assembled in Mirabel, which is a plant just outside of Montreal. So the deal with Montenegro was reached under an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, that was signed between CCC, which is Canadian Commercial Corporation, and the Ministry of Defense. And the Canadian Commercial Corporation is what we call a Crown-owned corporation, which is essentially a state-owned company. And its job is to facilitate international trade on behalf of Canadian industry, and particularly with governments of foreign countries. So it's a G2G facilitating mechanism. So what it can do is it has trust and confidence that other foreign governments recognize internationally, and basically those government buyers who want to avail themselves of Canadian opportunities, but want that comfort of a government-to-government link, then CCC is essentially the go-between that offers a contractual arrangement that is comfortable. And in particular, it can work in sort of sensitive areas, in particular, for example, defense and aerospace, and that can't be filled through to competitive tendering because there are often security and political implications. They also ensure that projects can be delivered as promised, which is also very important for governments, particularly with these large-scale purchases. And they reduce the risk of bribery and corruption in the procurement process, which again gives greater confidence to the government-to-government arrangements. And we've also signed another Memorandum of Understanding, and this time it's with the Ministry of Interior of North Macedonia. So CCC has an MOU now with North Macedonia in May 2018. So we're hoping that we can do some more cooperation with the government of North Macedonia as well.
Let's go back to Canada. Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. What is the aviation industry spread in these territories and in the country? How would you illustrate it?
So I would answer that with the question, did you actually know that Montreal is the 3rd biggest cluster in the world after Seattle and Toulouse? Not many people do, but it is a very, very large presence, over 60,000 skilled workers. So the largest representation of the aerospace industry is in the province of Quebec. It's about 60%, and then 30% in Ontario, which are, now those are our two major, most populous provinces. But I've also visited facilities in Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Alberta, and Manitoba. So the lion's share is in what we call Central Canada, the two biggest industrial provinces of Ontario and Quebec, but also scattered across the rest of our country as well.
You as an ambassador have one of your roles is motivating economical cooperation, which in the sector of commercial aviation can be translated perhaps to some airline routes. We have a lot of talk, and we will talk today with Air Serbia and their activities. Are you hopeful that maybe that forever elusive second long-haul route is maybe to Canada, because we have a lot of expats?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly do. I mean, the Serbian diaspora certainly in the southern Ontario area around Toronto is particularly large. I mean, we don't have exact figures, but it's over 100,000 people. So it's vibrant. It's very vibrant, and it's very economically active. So it would be a good route. In May, I believe in May of 2018, there was essentially another MOU that was signed between our two countries that would facilitate such a discussion, and it would allow Air Serbia to access to apply for the permits and approvals that it would need to have the direct flight. I'm afraid you'd have to ask Air Serbia, obviously, because that's a business decision that they've got to make, whether they want to actually, how can I put it, advance that route in the time. I would imagine in the time of COVID, they have lots of opportunities, but also a lot of challenges. But certainly from an embassy point of view, we would be very supportive of such a link. The diaspora is very active, it's great, and it would facilitate the commercial and people-to-people ties between our countries.
Canada is an export-oriented country. Aviation is a high-gross export segment. How would you illustrate those activities? This region has not seen so many, but how would you describe your country in that regard, and how much the aviation industry is important being an export generator?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that question. I mean, it's a major exporter for us. We export, the aerospace manufacturing firms export to over 190 countries across 6 continents. It's about 93% of our manufacturing firms are exporters. So it's a big export engine. Obviously, due to the proximity of the United States and the size of its market, it's our #1 export destination. And that's not a surprise, I think, given the integrated nature of the North American economy. But other large export markets for us are Germany, Switzerland, France, and Latvia, not too far away. And in the past couple of years, we've noticed, as we had discussed earlier, there had been some exports to Montenegro, for example, and we're hopeful in North Macedonia that we will be exporting more to this region. We think there's definitely potential, and we're looking to export more to the Western Balkans generally.
The elephant in every room nowadays is COVID. How did it impact the aviation sector in Canada, and what are your impulses back home on how it's going, your vaccination rate? When do you expect from your side for this to be near the finish?
Well, it's been particularly difficult, I would argue, for the aerospace industry and the air transport industry in Canada. So our vaccination rate is now approximately 30%, I believe, with the first dose. I mean, it changes every day. We sort of started a little bit later than Serbia did, for example, but the immunization rate is now actually increasing. So we're hopeful, the Prime Minister has made a commitment that all Canadians will have a vaccination by the end of the summer. So we're really hopeful that the summer will be able to turn the page. But it has had a disproportionate impact on the industry, and the industry's size and significance in Canada means that impact has had a major economic impact throughout the economy. Because the aerospace economy sector is so large, it's also had knock-on effects across the supply chain. So it's had lots and lots of impacts on leasing, petroleum purchasing, tourism, rental services, really, really kind of magnified across the system. So as a result, in mid-April, the government, after negotiating with the industry, in particular with our marquee company, which is Air Canada, that's our largest airline, and it's a very, very significant presence in Canada, and it's a global airline. There was a lot of negotiations between the government and Air Canada for support. And as I said, in mid-April, there was a series of financial initiatives that were offered to Air Canada. There were conditions applied to them, but it was in the realm of about $5.8 billion in liquidity and loan guarantees. And that was a major commitment, as you can imagine, by the government to a representative of the industry at large, and helping Air Canada helps a lot of those other countries down the supply chain. So we are optimistic that we've turned the corner and that we can hope to get back to some sort of regular business, perhaps in the end of the summer. But that obviously, Matt, you know, I can't predict unfortunately, what the public health conditions will be, but we're optimistic.
Your Excellency, once again, thank you for supporting us. Through your help, we'll have one of the major helicopter producers and an insight into the workings of the Canadian Commercial Corporation. And our expert audience will definitely watch the space of your next country in your sights, and that is North Macedonia. So all the luck to the companies and them on that market. Thank you once again, and good luck in your term, because it's just begun, and enjoy our country.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And good luck for this summit. I hope it goes well. It will go well.
Thank you.
Thank you.